Hello, it's Sam, Aka Lymphoma Lass, with you here today. And today we're going to be making cards, Christmas cards, using watercolour pencils. I'm going to start by making a greetings card featuring some Christmas baubles. This is one I've just started. So how I started that was I got a little measuring cup and I drew round it in whatever colour I choose of watercolour pencil. You could do this with normal children's colouring pencils or artist colour pencils, but I've chosen to use watercolour pencils to show you a neat trick. So it's very easy to go over the lines. You can rub them out, or you can just enlarge your bauble a bit. These don't have to be perfect. The thing I'm going to do, which is quite important, is I'm going to add shading. So I'm going to add shading here in a nice curve. Now I'm not being too sophisticated about making these shapes into looking like 3D forms using shading. I'm just giving an indication of it. So it needs to be dark at that bottom right corner because I'm imagining the light coming from the top left like that. So I'm just changing a very simple circle into a sphere. I'm just going to add some more baubles and then be back with you. Now, as you can see, I've drawn 4 baubles. I've deliberately used a lighter colours I should say, for ones at the back. And now all I need to do is add some water to turn these into lovely baubles. So I'm very carefully going around the inside of my circle . And I'm actually, on these ones, I'm going to leave a white spot, which I didn't on the ones I first did. And you can see just in front of your eyes, it's kind of turning into a sphere. It doesn't have to be perfect, because there's a certain charm in homemade things or home crafted things that aren't perfect. And my earlier version, there's a technique where you can lift off watercolours by using dampening a paintbrush and then lifting a little bit, just to make a light highlight, and using a tissue or kitchen paper to just take out the water. So while that dries, let's do something different. I now want to show you a way to make cards if you don't want to fiddle about too much with making things like spheres look 3D. So in this one, I just drew 2 different types of Christmas tree, well, different colours, very stylized. Put some light blue for snow and some light blue snowflakes. So I'll just show you how to do a couple of them. If I want to make them even more 3D, I can thicken one side. So the one up there is that's quite stylized, but to make it more 3D, just have a light source from one angle and put more dark on the opposite side. And next to it I'm going to do another tree in a slightly different green. And then I can do snowdrops. Oh, it's not snowdrops, snowflakes. So basically a snowflake has 6 points. So I'm going to come back to you because my pencil's broken. Right, so we were at the snowflakes. So you need 6 points for each snowflake. And then some of them I'm going to do with U's on the end. Soft curves. Some I'm going to do like with V's on the end. And some of them are going to be arrows. And then to show the snow glistening, I'm just going to do a little bit of blue on one side of each tree. And waves of blue underneath, because we're in a snowfield. So I'll be back in a minute. So now I've done the rest of the pencil work, and I'm just going to add water to make the pencil marks softer, plus also the pigment a bit more vibrant. So I'm starting with the blue because that's the palest colour. And then I'm going to do this brighter green, lighter green. And then I'll do the darker green. Now you might want to take your time with this, letting each section dry before you do the adjacent section, before you add water to the adjacent section, so that the colours don't run into each other. So you can probably see that although these are organic shapes, just putting a bit more pigment on one side and imagining the light coming from the other side, you can make them look more 3D than these, which are just don't have that in them. You can probably see the effect best in the baubles. The first ones I did a lot flatter than these, where I actively left off a bit of pigment to create a white spot to be the light falling, and so they look much more, I think they look much more 3D than these, just as the use of more pigment on one side of the trees makes them look a bit more 3D than this earlier one. But one thing I'd say, it's your choice. You don't have to centre on making them look 3D. So the next step in making these balls, spheres, into baubles is to add the lines, etc. So on the top of each bauble we have a little fitting, don't we? So I'm drawing these in metallic pen. They don't have to be particularly accurate. So I'm just using a silver pen here. And I could leave a little bit of this white or add a tiny bit of white pen there when that's dried to make it look even more 3D. And then how I'm going to draw the lines, I found in art, if you use a ruler, it can look too artificial, but you can actually just use a piece of card or paper. You just have to make sure it's at the right angle. So I'm just going to put on my line there. And there. This is a piece of card that the pens actually came in. There. There. And there. Now, I think that looks much more like a baubles, set of baubles. What you can do now, if you want to, is either write Happy Christmas along the bottom, or I actually like these stickers that say Happy Christmas. So you have to bend them to pull them off, and then just pop them on. And I'd say try and get them both in place before you press one in, just so that you can make sure you've got them as you'd like them. There we go. So I might want to move them further down actually. You can re-stick them, or actually further up. Because actually they're not showing very well there. So you can play with them until you get them where you want them. Try and do them at a slight angle, because then when you've got the unevenness of where you put them, it doesn't look so obvious. If you have them in a bit of a tilt or a curve, Happy Christmas. And then on these, in a gold pen, I'm just going to add some stars. So I'm putting in lines and then filling in around them. Little triangle stars, triangle arms on my stars. The final thing I need to do, the final couple of things I need to do before writing my card, is to stick it onto the greetings card blank. I've got these lovely little postcard size ones that are very glittery and gold, and to go with them I've got some lovely eco-friendly brown envelopes, which go quite well. So I'm just going to use a solid glue stick and basically get a good coverage on the back of the card. Especially on the edges of glue. Because I've chosen the cards I have, card templates, I'm fortunate that it's going to be quite easy to place it exactly. I'm just going to slide it into place, and my little piece of art fills virtually the whole card. So there's no problem of trying to measure. I mean, cards where you've got the card blank is bigger than the art are lovely, but you have to measure to make sure your art is right in the middle. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign the back saying handcrafted by Sam Robson, Acker Lymphomas, and I'm going to stack them underneath, stack them and then put some heavy books on top, just for while the glue sets. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope you all have an absolutely lovely Christmas, and see you again soon. Bye for now.